The African Capacity Building Foundation has been working in agriculture primarily in the development of skills, deep skills, through our university partnership programs. We've been working with the African Economic Research Consortium and a network of universities in a collaborative Masters in Agriculture and Environment, which we do jointly with the World Bank. And this develops people who have the skills to do research and policy work in agriculture at the master's level. They have been able to work with farmers and make sure that the research that they do is linked to farmers and productivity. The second input we have into agricultural and capacity and food security is an initiative we launched very recently called Empowering Women in Agriculture. This is an initiative that tries to have an impact on this contribution of women to transforming agriculture, because they make up between 65% and 80% of the labor force in agriculture. So you cannot transform agriculture without the role of women. And here we've been working first of all with NEPAD and the NEPAD heads of state. It's a group of heads of state who look at policy issues in terms of what NEPAD is doing. And since NEPAD is responsible for a program called CADEP, the Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, we work with them to support the pillars that countries have committed to transform the agricultural sector. We've done an assessment to see where countries are on each of these pillars, and we're working with them to improve the capacity of the countries to do good agricultural strategies, to implement important policies, to get impact in terms of development programs targeted towards agriculture. But on empowering women, because that is very important, we're working there with 7 heads of state. We have the president of Liberia, the president of Burkina Faso, Senegal, Malawi, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Djibouti. And they are the champions to really push this initiative, because we realize very few countries have targeted programs that can really transform the sector through the role of women, given how important they are in the process of transforming agriculture. Simple things, for instance, agromechanics, using machinery to raise productivity in agriculture. Our indicators that we've been collecting now for 3 years shows that countries have actually declined in their utilization of machinery per square kilometer of agricultural land. And one of the reasons is because men have been moving to do other things like work in industries, working in cities, and agriculture is in the hands of women, and not many of them are using machinery and tractors and things like that. So we are looking also at this question of productivity, whether it's through fertilizers, seeds that are more productive, irrigation and agro-machinery, and also the role in different points of the value chain. For instance, there are many bottlenecks in agriculture. You can have the right policies, the right strategy, but you don't have the infrastructure. So food goes to rot. And we are looking at involving women, but in the long run, everybody, in the whole agro-processing chain. So you can have first stage processing for fruits and vegetables, but also have preservation of food that can last longer even as the infrastructure is being built. The last area we are working on is in assessing capacity. We've done 3 years in a row of this Africa Capacity Indicators report. The one in 2012 was targeted towards transforming agriculture and guaranteeing food security. And we found from that assessment that every country except one has an agricultural strategy. But the implementation of that strategy is not yet where it ought to be. And also countries are having challenges in having innovative ideas to deal with some of the problems. For instance, drought-resistant crops, raising livestock productivity, being able to have the right kind of skills to transform the way farmers practice agriculture. So training and innovation is still an issue. We've made a lot of progress on information systems, so farmers have access to information. For example, in the example of Ethiopia with the commodity exchange, farmers now have information about prices. Most countries can give early warning systems about drought. There's also much more information about opportunities and markets. but there's still work to do in terms of transferring difficult scientific and technical knowledge in a way that farmers can actually use it and have it accessible for their own transformation. And then finally is the role of the private sector. The private sector is engaged in agriculture in different areas, and food security depends a lot in decisions taken by the private sector. So how to enhance the role of the private sector, whether it's in logistics and distribution of food, food markets, the ability to transform agricultural products and make them available in longer periods of time, but even the role of the private sector in distribution of seeds, fertilizers, and other inputs. So this is another area where there's progress, but there's still a lot of work to be done.